Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be answering some questions. This is a Q&A video. We have been asking people to give us questions so that we can answer them in this video, and today we're going to do just that. So, we have a decent amount of questions actually. So hopefully we satisfy some people. Hopefully we answer everyone's questions the way they were hoping. But yeah, let's go ahead and do this. So, Sulfix6840 asked a couple of questions. The first question they asked, what is the scale looking like, and how would you handle scaling? Well, that depends on what you're talking about in regards to scale. Are you talking about the world scale, the story scale, or the player base scale? For the world, how big each world will be scaled is still being decided on. We will likely work out exactly how big we want the game to be at the end of a few meetings discussing every aspect of the project after we've learned everything we can about Hytale's gameplay, mechanics, size, mobs, races, and what can be possible through modding. So we're not 100% sure about the scaling, but there will be a lot of world to discover nonetheless. The story will be a long one, rich with all sorts of twists, hidden lore, and much more. To recap the scale, it is a 5-campaign story with each campaign housing 6 story arcs with 6 quest lines each. A quest line has 8 to 12 quests, and this does not include all the faction quest lines, zone quest lines, region quest lines, and side quests. As in regards to the player base, if you're asking about how many players will be on the server at a time, we don't have a number range for this at all. Depending on how logistics work out, and if we can get a lot of financial support, I imagine we'll see the ballpark number rise. But we just have no way of knowing at this time. I will say that we do hope that the goal is to have a great many players, given that it is an MMORPG. Their next question was, what setup would you run, hosted or self-hosted? There's no feasible way we can self-host on our home servers and computers. Whether we find a specific company to host the servers for us, or a developer or sponsor offers to let us host on their servers for a reasonable price, it will be a big conversation for us moving forward. Their next question is, would there, if any, be monetization involved? Yes, but ideally we'd only monetize as much as we need to. We literally won't be able to run the servers without money, so we have to monetize where we need to. Initial cost. After buying Hytale, players can purchase our MMORPG with an account for a very cheap cost such as $5 or $10, since they're already buying Hytale. This grants access to the first campaign and all the 3 worlds it possesses without being unfair price-wise. Subscription. To play the second and beyond campaigns, the player would need to pay a subscription. The plan is to make this subscription payment as reasonable as possible, but this particular price will rise and fall depending entirely on the server costs. In-game purchases. This is likely where most of the backup money, as well as anything that can help us with our own bills, will come into play. Purchasing cosmetic items, common mounts, and pets, UI patterns, and the like. Basically anything that isn't pay-to-win type of purchases. Note, purchased items do not count towards the achievements. Other forms of payments from sources like Patreon and merchandise might be attempted, but that's 100% in the air right now, and isn't at the top of our kinds of conversations. It's actually at the bottom of the list right now. Their next question, what are the bigger expectations for this project? Ultimately, the expectation of this project is for us to create a proper and official MMORPG on Hytale. There is one story told through 5 campaigns, possibly a DLC at the end, and that's it. There could be new events and minigames added later on, and it's our hope to make it replayable, but I'm not a fan of a series that never ends. The only other expectation, which is honestly a hope, not an expectation, is that people love the game enough to the point where it becomes one of the top servers out there on the lists. Something a whole lot of people can love, enjoy, appreciate, and come back for more. Alright. Next question is from Ava Leori. They asked, How do you plan to handle death mechanics within this MMO design? Penalties or detriments to dying, if any. If the player dies in this game, their equipment receives a small percentage of durability damage, lose a small amount of coin, and possibly some resources. Crafting resources, not items or equipment. Thus, dying once or twice, nothing to blink at. Repeated deaths, however, can start getting rather punishing, encouraging players to not get too reckless, but without restricting playstyles. Shark asks, are there going to be any large cities in the game? Yes, there will be small villages to large cities. Some of them will be racial hubs, others will be world capitals. StewFanW1337 asks a couple questions. Number 1, how is this project looking? Will it start tomorrow or playable tomorrow? Oh, it's far from being playable, given all that we have right now is the plans and layouts of ideas, directions, and goals. We're going to be starting by learning everything we can about Hytale itself, from the gameplay and system to its lore. And then we're going to go lock ourselves in our digital office for weeks as we refine all of our ideas, goals, and systems with that updated knowledge before finally getting to work and developing. His next question, since this server isn't up from tomorrow, what servers are you guys playing? If your question is whether or not we're going to be hosting something else in the meantime, no. No, we're not hosting anything just yet, and we won't for quite some time until we can get all the gameplay, mechanics, models, and other systems worked out. At that point, our goal is to kind of create an adventure map of sorts that for players to try everything for players to play, and it is going to be linked to the story, in order to test out all the mechanics before we start pushing out the actual MMORPG. If you're talking about if we're going to be playing anything, actually, we're mostly going to be playing on a private server together, which you can watch on our live streams, links are below, as well as playing individually and, occasionally, trying out other people's servers and minigames. His last question is more questions related to PvP and how that's going to work. So PvP is not the focus of this MMORPG, but anyone can play that way if they wish. There will be a toggle each player can access, which enables or disables PvP for that player. If it's disabled, you cannot hurt others and they cannot hurt you. If it is enabled, then you can fight other players who have PvP setting on. There will also be events and minigames geared towards players fighting each other, like the tournament or conquest event / minigame. And that's all the questions that we have so far. If you guys have any more questions, please ask them in the YouTube comments or in the Discord server. We would love to answer all these questions. Hope to see you guys next time. Farewell.